right now because we're delayed on the start. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. We are going to get started in about 5 more minutes. We're just working a little technical difficulty out, but with 5 more minutes, we'll get started. So that's more for the people online than people who are sitting here. So.
Take your time. We're going to start. All right. I call the meeting to order. I want to welcome everybody and thank you for coming, those here and those online. We're going to start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Terrabee. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like Dennis to give us the invocation.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Please stand.
May those assembled here today enjoy the many opportunities afforded by New Jersey Realtors. May we abide by the rules we have established, those of trust, fellowship, and ethics. And may we place service above self in all our daily endeavors. May we always test ourselves and our efforts to be sure that they are the truth, good for all concerned, of benefit to mankind, and provide peace and understanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Verification of a quorum. Jared?
Mr. President, you have a quorum both here, combined with both here and online.
Thank you. The RPAC auction online has begun. If you're interested in the RPAC auction, just go onto our website and click on auction.
It's only until 1:45.
And the auction is only till 1:45.
And it's for that speaker.
That's not on there.
Okay, it's right there. That speaker right there is the one that's online.
It's not online. The speaker is also for auction, but it's not online yet.
No, I thought that was what we're auctioning.
No, there's matchbooks and it's not on there.
All right, Philly.
He's working on it. Couple glitches this morning. As far as voting goes, we're having a little glitch that we're trying to repair. So what we're going to do is for any motions that we have to have votes on, we're going to do a hand vote in the room, and we're going to do a poll vote for everybody that's online. So I wanted to talk about our consent agenda, which included the minutes of the January 9th meeting and the members' perks committee report. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the consent agenda? If not, can I have a motion, all in favor? Raise your eye. Any opposed? And we're just waiting on the poll.
We're good. We're good.
Motion carries. Thank you. We're going to go right into the treasurer's report. Nick?
Good afternoon, everyone. I have two reports. The first are the explanations for the final financial report dated December 31, 2017. At the January 9, 2018 meeting, the preliminary financial report for December 31, 2017 was presented. Our accountants have now been in and the final report as of December 31, 2017 has been completed. To recap, the membership numbers there was an increase of 2,879 members as of December 31, 2017, compared to that same date of the previous year, along with a decrease of 74 non-member licensees. Some highlights we have: we met our budgeted amount for Realtor and Realtor Associate dues, along with Institute affiliate dues. The proceeds from the 2017 convention, which is the convention service fee line item, was not available at that January meeting. That amount ended up being $241,103. Interest income was also not available at that January meeting, and that amount is $66,388, which was an increase from the budget amount by $26,388. Regarding expenses, the contributions There was an increase in contributions due to a $25,000 contribution to the Realtor Relief Fund to help with the recent hurricane storms. Regarding rent, this reflects an additional electric expense per the lease with the Ferguson Garden State Growth Zone. And regarding risk reduction, there was an increase due to legal fees incurred with changes to the forms. And now there's a motion to approve the final financial report dated December 31, 2017.
Can I have a motion to approve the financial statement and receipt disbursement report dated December 31st, 2017? Have a second? Any discussion on the motion? All in favor in the room? Any opposed? Now we're waiting on the poll. Motion carries. Thank you. One more, Nick.
Membership counts as of May 31, 2018, compared to May 31 of the previous year, 2017. In May 31, 2017, we had 47,886 members. Right now, we have May 31st, 2018 is 51,501 members, which reflects an increase of 3,615 members. Our income and expenses are in line with the 2018 budget. We realize most of our income during the first half of the year, and our expenses come at the second half of the year. We expect our membership to continue to increase throughout the rest of the year. And I'd like to present a motion to approve the final financial report dated May 31, 2018.
Can I have a second on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? We're waiting on the poll. Motion carries. Thank you, Nick. President's report. I have several things I want to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is attendance. When we redid the governance last year, and as we change things around, there's going to be some growing pains and some tweaking that we need to do. One of them has to do with attendance. Clearly, the ability to attend this meeting by electronic means was supposed to be for that once in a rare lifetime that you couldn't make the meeting. But the meetings are meant for us to build relationships, show leadership, and do things together and have a debate and discussion. Clearly, we have to make some changes. The amount of people that are preferring to call in and be on the web is unacceptable for the people that make the trip here. And I think it works in the face of what we're supposed to be doing. So we discussed it with leadership and executive committee. We're going to September meeting that we have so that you know from now is going to be a mandatory meeting here. All right. And then the incoming leadership for next year we'll discuss as far as next year goes. But I think we can do better as an organization in attendance and showing up at the meetings. And I just wanted to make you aware of that. So thank you. Town hall meetings. We've been a bit sluggish getting those off the ground, but our first one is scheduled for Region 2 on June 25th. You can go to our NewJerseyRealtor.com website, and under membership and town hall, you can find the schedule as they come up. The purpose of the town halls is supposed to be avenues of discussion with feedback, questions, and networking, and it's supposed to try to bring in members who are not currently engaged with everything that we do. The whole purpose of this was to try to get more engagement, because if there's anything we've all heard is that it's always the same people at every meeting, at the same people at all the functions, and we're trying to engage those people. And the only way we can do that is to find out from them why they're not engaged, what we can talk about to do that. So for the region vice presidents that are in attendance or online, and for any AEs or anything, I need your help to get these things going. I've had some contact from some of the individual boards who say they've not been contacted. And I was preferring to do this by region, but we will do it by board if we have to. And if you have any suggestions on topics or things you'd like to discuss, please reach out to the staff or to myself. Flood insurance. July 31st, the current can down the road is going to get kicked again, we hope. If it doesn't, we're talking 44,000 homes a month that can't close in the country. And we know how bad that affects us here. The congressional bill that went across to the Senate isn't going to go anywhere from talking to Senator Menendez. And he has told us that he is coming out with his own bill, which he says will be a bipartisan bill and will address all the issues that he felt were weak in the area of New Jersey. But when is anybody's guess? In the meantime, as we approach the end of July, it's going to be important that everybody pays attention. If we have a call for action, we need to be really strong on this thing going forward. So does anybody have any questions on that at all? Okay. I guess we were not really communicating with the folks online, or they can just hear us, Bill. Okay.
I was just received a notice that somebody lost the feed and the meeting is frozen online, Bill.
So nobody move. We're now a Disney movie.
Okay.
Angela, I see you moving.
Yeah.
Continuing along, recently we met with the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs regarding an ownership versus occupancy discrepancy in senior housing in the state. Federal law permits the ownership of dwellings within senior housing facilities to not have age restrictions, but current New Jersey practices have prohibited this. Our meeting with the DCA was productive, and we're hopeful the discrepancy between state and federal law will be resolved shortly. In a nutshell, some of our adult communities down in Ocean County, where the law says you have to be 55 or older to live in them, some of the associations have decided that you have to be 55 or older to own them. And we met with the DCA to talk about it. They're going to be speaking with the Attorney General's office. The problem isn't the violation. The problem is who enforces the violation. Nobody wants to jump in and say, we should do that. Barry, if you want to just touch on the civil rights part of that.
Oh, sure. Recently, the Division on Civil Rights of the Attorney General's office promulgates regulations dealing with this issue in New Jersey. And it specifically says that age-restricted communities are permitted as long as it's 80% of the people who occupy the units are 55 or older. If that's the case, then you fall within the exception for familial status discrimination, because that's what this is. It's an exception to familial status discrimination. So those regulations, not only do we have it in terms of, the Fair Housing Act, which says the same thing, but we have it in terms of the New Jersey regulations. And so the Division on Civil Rights, Attorney General's Division of Civil Rights recently published notice that they were going to repromulgate their rules in this regard. So I think that it may be an opportunity for us to contact them if DCA is unsure who should handle it. To say, hey, you're promulgating these regulations, maybe it should be clarified with regard to the fact that these don't allow these age-restricted communities to limit ownership to people 55 and older. That's a violation of the familial status rule. So,
Any questions on that? Thanks, Barry.
okay.
This past week, I was invited to speak to the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals by Alex Mascara, who's the current president of New Jersey North. It was a great function, and I look forward to doing more work with that particular organization, and we're open to work with any other organization that's connected to our industry to try to work with them and pool our resources together for advocacy and other issues. The next thing I want to talk about is we're going to have an open house here on September 21st. You'll be getting a save the date in the next couple days. There's a bunch of things we're going to be doing, but I'm going to turn this over to my friend Jared Grasso, and it's not going to be called a Schluterpalooza. Just going to kill him on that before he starts.
So the thought being, let me just outline. We could call it the Realtor Palooza, but I thought Schluterpalooza was a better name, but obviously he doesn't like that. We're trying to combat the fact that some of our members haven't had an opportunity to see the building. This is a fantastic building, something that we are proud of. Those who've been here and had the opportunity to be here, they've been proud of what they have seen. So what we want to try to do is create more of an open atmosphere. So the idea behind the Realtor Palooza, or whatever we're going to name it, is that we're going to have CE classes going on throughout the course of the day here. It's Realtor Safety Month. President Chris will be teaching a Realtor Safety class. We're going to have food trucks here. We're going to have a band here. We're going to have craft brews here. We're going to have opportunities to meet with the past presidents. So those past presidents in the audience, but also past presidents who might be watching us online. We're going to invite you to be here so that you could have a mentoring program and meet with some of the YPNers and talk to them about engaging on the association level, but not on the state association level, but on all levels of the association. We are going to have a rebar camp downstairs. Rebar camps, for those of you who aren't familiar, is where you take a couple of topics, you break into workout groups or group sessions and talk about the different ideas and the thought process behind certain things. And let's say it's about agency. Let's talk about commercial real estate or something like that. So it's going to be a fun day, a full day of events. The cost most likely will be $15. $15 to receive probably $150 to $200 worth of stuff, food, entertainment, you name it. It's going to be here for you. And the $15 isn't coming back to the association. The $15 is going to be a donation to the Education Foundation. So it's also a contribution to the Education Foundation. We hope that this is going to turn out the masses. We plan on closing down the parking lot. We also are going to invite our local boards to have their own tent or table outside so that you could also demonstrate who you are as an organization. We're going to invite our affiliate members, RPR, and any other group that's affiliated with the National Association or with the State Association to also be there to provide products and services and talk about what they have to offer to the association. So September 21st is the day. More details to come. As we conclude today's meeting, most likely by tomorrow, we'll have a save the date out there to the members. We will do geo-targeting, meaning that we'll do targeted ads through Facebook, through Instagram, and all that good stuff to help promote the 21st. All I could ask is our local boards and our local board presidents to please follow suit, help promote this event. I think it's going to be a fun event, and we hope to get a lot of new faces here to see the building itself. Is that it? All right.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I forgot that.
The other thing we're going to be doing on that day is on the second floor below this conference room is a media room and a video room. And we're going to be allowing our members to make their own 30-second video that they can do to promote themselves or whatever they want to do. And we're also going to have a photographer here to do headshots for anybody that's interested. So it's a really good deal for $15.
And prizes and giveaways too for the day.
Don't give it all away.
Oh, come on. All right.
And that, sir, concludes my report. And I now call up Eileen Horowitz for her report. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just to do a recap from the mid-year meetings, and I see most of us and many of us were there. One of the most memorable parts of mid-year was the big win for New Jersey and Charlie Opler. He's now the first VP for NAR's first vice president for 2019. And it was such an emotional, exciting time, I think, for everybody in New Jersey. And if we could give a big hand to the staff, because what they did throughout the campaign, Jared, the campaign team, we have 51,000 realtors. Florida has 130.
170, actually.
So they had, their budget was, so we think, $1.5 million plus to run a campaign. We did not run our campaign on that. Not even close. And everything that we saw there that whole week, we did everything with class. We kept within the rules, the guidelines. They had people everywhere. It was almost like a bunch of vultures. And everybody couldn't get over how we ran the campaign. So, I mean, that was just huge and all of you helped giving out popcorn and stuff. So that was one of the biggest highlights of the mid-year visits. We also had the NAR directors approved a $30 dues increase. for its members. And we thought that was going to be a big to-do, and they had a question and answer section and it passed. And 17 of the dues increases for the Realtor Party advocacy, and 13 of it will fund programs such as the new Commitment to Excellence Professionalism Initiative, the Association Forms and Transaction Management Benefit, and the upkeep of NAR's buildings in Chicago and Washington. So it did pass, and there were a few questions throughout the session for the voting, but there was not the extreme that we thought it would be. As you've all seen over the last few months, there was a rollout for a new logo by NAR, and that's on hold right now because there was a lot of pushback because there's, I think, $250,000 they spent in the new logo, and there was just pushback from all the members. So right now that's on hold. I could tell you that in one of our caucuses, Bob Goldberg spoke with us, and it was like a special thing for him to come into our caucus, and he was making his rounds, and he was saying one of his things he's doing this year is trying to get it boots on the ground, talk to everybody, and they are going to do a bigger campaign for outreach. And they said that we do have to own it as realtors. We have to get our message across, and they realize how NAR has missed some of the messaging, so they are working on that this year as well. And we had our Hill visits. This year was different because we had the presidents of the boards visit our senators. So we had a good turnout with that. And when we were doing and visiting our congressmen and women, it was interesting because when we went to Chris Smith's office, besides knowing all of our issues with flood insurance and the Mortgage Debt Relief Act, we did speak about net neutrality. And Chris Smith's office said that they had one of the most phone calls they received that week we were there was regarding net neutrality. So they were very involved with our issues. They knew what was going on. And all in all, it was a very good week. Any questions from the week when you were there? Thank you. That's my report.
All right, now you have to bear with me for a few minutes. I have a lengthy report. First and foremost, I want to thank, and Eileen, you start thanking and the staff and stuff like that, and we do appreciate it. But I'll tell you, Mary, I don't know if Mary's in the room. I think she was outside. Mary Pilar from our staff, Colleen from our public relations staff, Doug from our government affairs staff, and Catherine, who doesn't work for us anymore, so we don't have to thank her, but we will. You know, we spent every single day at 10 a.m. Talking about the campaign for the last year and a half, basically. We had a scheduled meeting every day at 10 a.m. To talk about strategies, to talk about how we're going to beat Goliath. You know, and Eileen, you're right. They probably spent anywhere between $1.2 to $1.4 million of their members' money, We came under budget. We allocated approximately $300,000 for the campaign. As of right now, we're about $280,000. We have a few more bills pending, but you could see how a strategic campaign, a well thought out campaign, can beat anybody, honestly. And from a regional standpoint, we had the commitment from New York and Pennsylvania all in for our candidate. And then let's talk about our candidate. Charlie was phenomenal. He flipped the switch when now weeks before that, when we were in California together, it was like he was just a well-oiled machine. He worked California hard. We knew we had to win California. We had to lock down California. He did what he had to do to deliver the votes in California. We took that momentum into the May meetings. And to win by 9 votes, I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. Now, the funny thing is that the phone calls that he's getting, I'm getting, and stuff like that, we should have won by 400 votes because everybody said that they voted for him. But, you know, it's been an exciting time. It's the first time the New Jersey Association of Realtors has had a president on the national level since 1961. So that's an amazing thing. No, it wasn't all region money. The Christian wants me to point out. So the monies that we had allocated, $100,000 came from the region. Some monies were used from the state association, but over the years we budgeted for this probably about $80,000. I think it was $75,000 came from the state. The other monies came from our local boards, who were very generous in sending us checks. So thank you to our executive officers and our presidents that are out there and also in front of me today for all your support of the campaign. So now let's talk about staff changes. I'll skip around. As of Friday, John Shahada is no longer employed with us. I'd like to introduce our new technology director, Bill Thompson. William. Please do not let today's technical difficulties reflect upon Billy. He's been here a long time. It's just glitches happen. We'll work through it by the September meeting. We also have Harika Kasidari, who is also joining our staff, who has joined our staff. She is our junior web developer. She's been working downstairs. We have a new announcement, Catherine Best, who after the campaign broke my heart, but she went over to work for Josh Gottheimer. We have her replacement, believe it or not, who will be starting next Wednesday. He will be at our Trenton Day on Thursday, so I'll make sure we introduce him. His name is David Grant. He has extensive assembly experience here in the state of New Jersey, and he'll be coming in as our Deputy Director for Government Affairs. Bruce Shapiro, we all know Bruce, he didn't leave. Bruce has been promoted to Deputy Director of Regulatory Affairs for us. And Holly Fuller has joined our public relations staff, and Holly is working with Colleen and a marketing coordinator for us. So that's our staff changes. I look at this and I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, there's turnover. Well, we hire young, talented people. When you hire young, talented people, people poach them. And that's the way it is. And it shows that we have good people out there. We've trained good people and people see value in them. And sometimes we get them to stay and sometimes we don't. And that's just the way it is. But the good news is new people, new ideas. So I think we're going to be moving forward in a positive direction for the association. Financial literacy, we do have 2 more programs established currently. The June 26th and June 28th in the Ocean County area. We're at Ocean County College. At Ocean County College, right now for the June 26th event, we have 4 people. I will repeat, that's not 400, it's not 40. We have 4 people signed up. I don't know, and I know that Bob, President Bob, under his year as president, he talked about how we need to plan for our future as independent contractors, as people who are living day to day for the transaction, and how we could actually plan so that there are some downtimes and make sure that we're established so that we can actually retire as independent contractors someday. I know that there's no CE tied to this class, but this goes beyond CE. This goes beyond proper planning and doing what's right for you as an individual. I know this isn't the local board's fault. I know that Ocean County, you've been promoting this. I could tell you that we, the state association, paid for 475,000 impressions, geo-targeting our membership for the Bergen events. And they fell on deaf ears. We only had 1 person sign up for that class. So I need you to please work on getting people to sign up for the June 26th and 28th event. That being said, I know that some people will say, well, we're waiting for CE. That's going to be a long process. We do have our omnibus legislation. Part of the omnibus legislation, as you may recall, I've talked about this extensively, talks about changing the license law so that referral licensees go back underneath a broker. They're full-time agent, but they're not subject to continuing education. Megan's Law sex offenders, tier 2, tier 3 are not going to have a license here in the state of New Jersey any longer. Part 3, though, is that financial literacy and realtor safety are part of the core curriculum that's going to be offered for CE credits. That bill was passed yesterday out of the Assembly Regulatory Affairs Committee. Doug and I were there to testify on the bill. The next stop is for a full floor vote for both the Senate and the Assembly bill. We hope the earliest will be the 21st of June. The latest will be the 28th of June. If not, we have to wait until they reconvene back in the fall. So we're working on getting the bill posted. We have already met with the governor's office, his chief counsel, or members from his counsel's office to talk about the merits of the legislation. We don't have a commitment either way, whether he's concerned with it or not. There are zero groups opposed to the legislation as to where we were last time we were doing this bill, where we were actually going to be our own CE approval agency. We removed that, and that was the sticking point last time. So we think that we've covered everything. We're moving in the right direction. We hope that this Governor Murphy, will support the legislation, and we get it on his desk in the next several weeks. Now, that being said, we have Trenton Day Thursday. We have a heavy hitter lineup for you for Thursday. So if you were on the fence about coming, I think now is important for you to show up. We have a budget that's going on in the state of New Jersey that has to be implemented by July 1. There's a lot of wrangling going on right now between what are the plans to fill the budgetary gaps. Governor Murphy wants to legalize marijuana and live off some of those taxes. He also wants to extend taxes to Airbnb and also extend the millionaire's tax. The Senate president and the speaker, Assembly Speaker, have their own ideas. They're all from the same party, but they have their own ideas. So we have the Senate president who's coming Thursday morning. We have the Assembly Speaker coming Thursday morning. And we also have the new chairman of the Assembly Housing Committee, Benji Wimberly, coming to speak to us Thursday morning. These are real power brokers. I hope that we could get a good turnout, especially now that we're in the budget season. That's why we planned it when we do, so that we have the people who are making the decisions ears, so we could talk to them about certain aspects of the budget and where we stand. I talked about the omnibus bill, the financial literacy budget, and I think that's everything. Any questions? Anything I didn't cover? And on behalf of Charlie Oppler, he did say he was going to try to make it today. He couldn't make it down. He texted me this morning. He said, thank you all. And I want to make sure I convey that to you all. So thank you for the support. Thank you. Oh, yes. And now part 2 of my report. We'll get Martha Chinese in here. Hold on one second.
Okay, everybody freeze.
Martha?
No.
So Martha's on her way in. We had a request from our constituency, the local boards, in regards to the dues collection policy we established under the board of directors last year. We have a dues compliance tool that we have in place, and we're trying to clean up the member collection records as best as we possibly can. A lot of that falls on the backs of the local boards. Or all of that really falls on the backs of the local boards. So we had a 30-day window in which they were to clean up the records or owe on the dues for individuals. What we're asking is for a 60-day extension of that time frame. Now, the time frame was expired on June 1st. We're actually asking an executive committee motion that the motion that came out of executive committee would be 60 days from today. Which would be the 12th. So 60 days from today, extension for the boards to work through the new process using the tools that we have provided to them. Is there anything else you want to cover with that, Martha? Okay. So with that, that was the motion made by executive. We could have that on the floor.
Again, the motion is to extend the dues collection date, dues compliance date, 60 days beginning today. And I need a motion and a second. Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Now we wait for the poll. Motion carries. Thank you very much, everybody. And now for a legal update, the moment you've all been waiting for. Barry Goodman.
Well, you may have to wait a little bit longer. Actually, I'm going to defer to Gary Large and just move right into the designated agency explanation by Gary, because that's really the only legal update that there is today.
Come on up, Gary. Barry's speechless. Write that down. Go right ahead.
Mr. President, members of the leadership team, Barry, Jared, members of the staff, directors, it is a distinct privilege and honor to report to you the results of a PAG that President Schluter asked me to chair this spring to try and move the designated agency issue forward. We've been working on it for some time. In fact, President Schluter asked me to give you a quick presentation of the background of where we are and how we got there. And it's coming up on the monitor, and you'll notice there's a February 12th, 2013 date, because this is a presentation that I did to my leadership team back then to get this whole process started. So it's been a long road, but we're making some really good progress. Bill, I'm not getting any help from this thing. I'll just let you change the slides, Bill, if you don't mind. So anyway, that first slide, question, what is agency? I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the fact that agency, and you can go to the next slide, Bill. Agency is a business relationship between two parties in which one party delegates to the other the responsibility to act on their behalf in a business transaction. And you can go to the next slide, Bill. It's a very, very important relationship in the eyes of the law. In fact, the law holds us to pretty high standards of fiduciary duties, which can be summed up by the word advocacy. We have to promote, support, and defend the interests of our client when we're acting as their agent. You can go to the next slide, Bill. The broker's role in agency in New Jersey is that only brokers, and you can go advance that, Bill, of all the license categories available in New Jersey, and now it's working, thanks, Bill, I'll do it myself. There's currently 4, there will be 3 when Jared's omnibus bill is finally approved. But to this day, only the broker is allowed to act as an agent in New Jersey. So you must have a broker's license to be an agent. But we do have a concept called sub-agency, where the client can say to the agent, you're allowed to delegate to others the ability to work on my behalf during the time you are my agent. And so the brokers in New Jersey typically will delegate sub-agency status to their licensees that are in their companies to work with the buyers and sellers. In New Jersey, we have a legal precedent, though, called blanket sub-agency. And essentially, it means that what the broker does for one, he's doing or she's doing for everybody in the company. So, for example, if Kate, one of the agents for that broker, lists the property for seller A, and the broker makes Kate a sub-agent of seller A, then that broker in New Jersey's made all 4 of their licensees, if it's a 4-person company, sub-agents of seller A. And if Mary's working as an agent for buyer B and the broker has delegated that sub-agency status for her, he's done the same thing or she's done the same thing to all the members. And it just gets more and more confusing. But when you take the noise out of the system, if ever one of the broker's licensees working as a sub-agent for the buyer wants to make an offer on one of the properties that is listed by another broker's sub-agent of the seller, then you've got a dual agency situation. And dual agency, dual agency, as you guys know, is a very, I don't want to use the word dangerous, but it's a relationship you have to be very careful of, because the standard of advocacy goes away. And in the eyes of the law, a dual agent must remain impartial. They cannot do something for one of their bosses that they can't do for the other. They can't do something to put one of their bosses at an advantage to the disadvantage of the other. So it's a whole different relationship. And in fact, the Adina Realty lawsuit back in the early 90s, a $200 million class action lawsuit, occurred because a buyer who was in a dual agency relationship with Adina was the victim of a listing agent with Edina who didn't realize they were supposed to be impartial and worked as an advocate for their seller client in a dual agency relationship. So this slide was from 2013, and it says 37 states. It's now up to 40 states that have basically eliminated dual agency in the form that we practice in New Jersey and have brought in a form called designated agency. And designated agency gives the broker the ability to say, in the case of Kate working with seller A, only you, Kate, will be the sub-agent of seller A. Nobody else in the company is going to have that right or responsibility. With Mary, only you, Mary, will be the sub-agent of buyer B. Nobody else in the company has that right or responsibility. And Sue can be the designated agent for her buyer, and Jim can be the designated agent for his seller. And if ever a situation arises where Mary's buyer wants to buy Kate's seller's house, as you can see, the only person still being touched by all the lines of agency is the broker. So the broker remains dual, and the agents are allowed to be single agents, advocates for their particular side. The problem was, and is still to this day, that a lot of our broker members out there are really uncomfortable with this relationship. It's called single agent, dual agent, where an agent has the listing and then finds their own buyer. So the broker will say, well, that's kind of dangerous. So we're going to bring in somebody else to work with the buyer, and you, Mr. Listing Agent or Miss Listing Agent, will stay with the seller. And the problem is that that's not a legally recognized relationship in New Jersey. And in fact, that's exactly the situation that got Edina into their lawsuit back in 1993. What's happened when we do that in New Jersey is we've just made a more normal two-agent dual agency relationship, and both those sub-agents have to understand that they have to be impartial. And so that's where we are and where we came to. We had a PAG that worked for a long time, almost the whole of 2017, reached a bit of an impasse, and then Chris asked me to take over, President Schluter asked me to take over this PAG. So what we've done, and I'll just read you the conclusion of our report, is that we've recommended, and we've already made this recommendation to the Executive Committee, that consistent with the current Real Estate Commission regulations, that for designated agency to occur in a brokerage firm where the firms represent both the buyer and the seller, the broker would designate one of the licensees in the office as the designated agent of the seller, and another agent in the office as the designated agent of the buyer. The broker's status would remain that of a disclosed dual agent in the transaction and would therefore require, pursuant to the current regulations, an informed written consent of disclosed dual agency. The broker will supervise the designated agents. For a brokerage firm to have its agents work as designated agents, the firm must obtain an informed written consent of the buyer and seller, as it has to do to be a disclosed dual agent. And these recommendations will require a change in the New Jersey Real Estate Commission's regulations, specifically in NJAC 11:5-69, which deals with the consumer information statement and agency relationships. We made an informal presentation to the commission, President Schluter, Barry, and I, last month as a member of the public, speaking in their public comment portion of the agenda. So the commission is well aware of what we're proposing or would like to see happen, and Jared and staff will move that process forward with a more formal request for rule changes that will be necessary for this to be implemented. So stay tuned. We'll keep you posted. And thank you again, President Schluter, for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you.
You made it clear that dual agency will still exist.
Yeah, dual agency will still exist. The broker in a designated agency relationship is still the dual agent, or the broker could decide in any kind of a situation that they would allow their sub-agents to act as dual agents if that was appropriate.
Thank you, Gary. Just to clarify a few things, Gary actually started this process in 2012, and then it fell apart, and we actually started it as a Real Estate Commission task force in 2016, carried into 2017, and ran into an impasse. And I want to thank Gary and everybody from this process from 2012 to now for getting it done. So thank you. Yes, Teresa. Thank you. Are you still not ready?
I would just add one other thing with regard to Gary's terrific presentation.
Ready to make your report?
No, that was my,
That was it?
that was it. You know, Gary and I have collaborated. He's done a tremendous job, you know, pulling this together in a short period of time. And he's to be thanked because, you know, we really, you know, spent a lot of time several years trying to pull this together. And Gary, just like he simplified it, he streamlined it, and he made it happen. One thing that I would just add to what Gary said, in terms of designated agency, which I think really helps to make it go, and assuming that the Real Estate Commission agrees with what we're proposing, when you have designated agents, one for the buyer, one for the seller, there will be no imputed knowledge from the designated agents to each other, which we're, right now, as you know, there's imputed knowledge. If any agent in your office has knowledge of something, it's imputed to everybody else in your office. And therein lies a major problem. So when you have designated agents, there will be no imputed knowledge. And so it'll really reduce liability significantly for brokers. And that's an important aspect. I'm hoping that that's something that, assuming the Real Estate Commission adopts the proposed amendments, and we have drafted, amendments to 6.9 to revise the consumer information statement, et cetera, just to include designated agency. And we use the philosophy KISS, keep it simple, stupid. I'm hoping that the Real Estate Commission agrees that it's a great idea.
Thank you.
But thank you, Gary, wherever you are.
You ran out the door already. All right. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Eileen for committee reports.
Hello again. The Circle of Excellence Committee met and the meeting came up with several updates. They were made to the program's parameters. The goal of these updates is to help tighten the awards eligibility criteria while improving the application process for our members. So some of the key changes. No longer do you need to have proof of compensation for rentals in the MLS. Verification documentation must be kept in the order it was listed on the application, or the application will be returned to the applicant. Applicants will then have 3 business days from receipt of notice to reorganize, or the application will be rejected. Should an applicant appeal the decision of the local committee, the applicant will not be able to add additional materials to the appeal, but rather the state will only review what was originally verified at the local level. So do I have a motion to approve the 2018 verification packet, which includes award rules, levels, advertising rules, and appeal processes for all applicants?
Do I have a motion? Can I have a second on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? And we're waiting on the poll. Motion carries. Thank you.
The proposed application due date is Monday, January 7th, 2019. The local board verification committee's proposed deadline to have applicants reviewed by is January 22nd, 2019. Motion to approve the application due date of Monday, January 7th, 2019.
Do I have a motion? Scared me for a minute. Second on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? We go to the polls. Sounds like a bad election joke. Thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any unfinished business? One thing I just did want to report on very briefly is all our committees have been pretty hard at work this year doing things. And our risk management committee, we changed it up a little this year. We broke everybody down into work groups. It worked so well with the PAG. So we have groups working on different things. We have groups working on the solar panel addendum, the vacant land contract, and I think we're making really good progress on both of them and are almost done. So I want to thank any of the committee members that happen to be online for all their hard work, and we're doing things better in small groups and then bringing them back to the full risk management committee. Once we get them done, we'll hopefully have them back to here by September. And we have other issues that we're beginning work on, so stay tuned. So other than that, if we have nothing else, we're adjourned. Thank you. That just seemed to